Hello and welcome to the Kelcast, the Hearthstone Arena podcast where we try to get better without cursing. I'm Keldar, a longtime Infinite Arena leaderboard player and streamer on Twitch. Today's episode, we're featuring a roundtable of Arena players. Let's introduce them. First up is Judge, a frequent leaderboard player and ambassador for the Arena community. Next, we have Ratsmah, a streamer and Arena strategy OG. And as finally, as always, my co-host, Kellen Abel. If you guys want to find us on social media, you can search Keldar on Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter. That's Keldar. Kellen, what is the panel discussing this week?
Well, this week is Valentine's Day, and we thought it'd be the perfect time to talk about the things in Hearthstone that we absolutely love. Cards, classes, strategy, the details that keep us coming back for more. We're going to start with a huge piece of news that we all love, the changes to the classic set and the future that holds for Hearthstone.
All right, well, with that out of the way, let's get to the show. So let's talk about the core set first. I'm just going to read off the changes. They finally announced this after I've been wanting this for years. So basically, Blizzard saying the core set replaces basic and classic cards in the standard format and will contain a selection of 235 cards. After the set rotation this year, standard will include card sets from the Year of the Phoenix, Ashes of Outland, Skull and Man's Madness at the Dark Moon Fair, Dark Moon Races mini set. The next expansion, and then the core set. So the core set's going to be free for all players. And it's going to be like a curated set of some classic cards, some basic cards, wild cards, some returning cards. And I think it's a great change. And that's basically the best thing about it is that it is actually free to all players. So basically, once you hit level 10 with all of your classes, this will be a rotating set every single year that will just be given to you. So it's pretty great. So, Colin, do you want to start off by telling us what you think about the changes?
Yeah, I think one of the things that has become stale in Hearthstone is running into the same cards in every deck and drafting the same cards in every format that you always pick. I've been picking Bloodfen Raptors for my entire existence as a Hearthstone player, and I'm really looking forward to shaking things up and getting a more interesting bunch of curve minions, honestly, in Arena. I think that's kind of a small detail, but we've been playing with those same curve minions for so long. It'll be fun to get something different.
Okay. Any Judge, do you have any thoughts about the core set? Do you like the change?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the changes. I think there's a long time coming for all modes, not just Arena. I know even just playing so many decks in Constructed, seeing the same set of cards in every single deck all the way through the years. They did their best. Well, they did a job with the Hall of Fame and got some of the necessary ones out of there, but there were still so many more that we're just seeing play day in and day out. So getting a nice rotation in and Constructed is great. I'm also really looking forward to no mind control in Priest sometimes. That is excellent news. Very happy about that.
I think that's a travesty.
No.
I'm a Priest lover.
Okay, so that's how it is.
It should be good. It should be good for just a change in class identity for each class. I think that with the neutral, like with the non-neutral cards rotating, it'll be nice to see like faster priest decks, maybe like control hunters. I think this is going to give them room to kind of shift their roles a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I've been reading a lot of the comments from like Twitch chat when I've been in other channels. And some of the comments I've been hearing is some people are sad because they feel like the nostalgia of some of the old cards is going to be leaving. But my argument to them is that the thing is that some of the cards that you like Ragnaros or whatever, now they're not, some of these cards that they may or may not come back and they might not come back the same way. That's one point, is that they said that they may rebalance some cards that they had to remove because of their power level. But one thing is great is that they can do this forever. They can always rotate a card back in. You might not see it for a couple of years, and then just when you're missing it, it might just pop back up, come back in again, which I think is great. It's a way to kind of still keep some of that familiarity without making it stale. So I think that's kind of a cool idea. Does anyone have any thoughts on that part of it, maybe?
Well, I have a thought on the classic set change, or the classic format specifically. One of the things that we talked about on our first pod with Ratsmah was the idea of having a classic arena format or a rotating arena format that used events or older formats, things like that. And the classic format existing in Constructed gives us a perfect opportunity for that to translate directly into the arena. So it sets up a possibility of what we were discussing on our first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, please, please, Blizzard, if you're watching, Classic Arena, even for a little bit. Oh my god.
I want to
Please.
play Gnomish Inventor and feel like it's the best card at 4.
I want to draft a Nat Pagel and play it on 2 and be okay with it. That's what I want.
I'm gonna be okay with it.
Just kidding. I'm always okay with that.
I mean, I feel like Arena is so different because the value game was like the main game back in the day. Now it seems that card advantage doesn't mean anything at all. They're like single cards that are worth like 10 cards in your hand. I really do want to get that classic Arena feel back.
Yeah, that's like the old school Arena. You'd have to like really balance with your drafting. Okay, I need cards that have a lot of tempo to compete, but I also am going to need a couple draws to also compete, right? You're going to need to draw one or two cards or you're going to fall behind. Now there are cards, your opponent goes from having 1 card to 8 in like 1 turn. You see something like Onyx Mage Scribe, Raise Dead, and it's like, oh, I thought my opponent was out of steam. It's just completely different, right?
Oh, sorry, one moment on that. Today I cloning deviced my opponent's Onyx Mage Scribe, spell stole an Omega assembly from them, cast that to trigger my Mage Scribe, which gave me a Raise Dead. So that was a pretty. It is ridiculous the things you can do. It is pretty nuts.
Yeah, it happens, right? This isn't just a theoretical high roll. Like, it happens all the time.
All the time. Yeah. So I think we're all in agreement that we love these changes and we're really excited for the future that this sets up for us.
Yeah, definitely. This was great news.
Yeah, I really tried to think of like to try to be the devil's advocate here and think of some negatives, but I really can't think of any because I've been begging for this forever. You know, one of the things I think the last point I want to make is I really like the idea that, like, for instance, so I think 2 classic things we can think about in Arena, that is you draft a priest and you maybe draft to get to the mind control because you already drafted, or maybe you want to draft a greedy deck. I like the idea that like maybe different archetypes where like it's not a crutch where you play Fireball to finish off as mage or you play mind control to finish off as, you know, priest. Like maybe they'll be like similar cards but a different way, but like I'm just glad that maybe it'll change like some of the archetypes a little bit where it won't be the same, you know. So at least I'm not saying Blizzard will be, you know, creative enough to do that, but they at least have the opportunity to make changes every year. So I think that's great, you know. And
it even could happen just by, even if they don't do it intentionally, like just some cards rotating in and out of the core set could just have that impact naturally, right? That's one I was going to bring up as well, was playing against a mage could just be completely different if Fireball's not in, right? I mean, you're all always hovering around that 10 to 15 health mark thinking, what kind of burn could this mage have? And so you're just going to see all the archetypes you kind of are familiar with. It's going to take some getting used to. Just sure. Be completely different to play against, right?
Yeah. Does anyone else have any other things they want to bring up about the changes, or you want to move on?
I'm ready to get into the things that we each individually love.
Okay, we can do that. So the next thing we wanted to do is why I brought this round table together of Arena players was I wanted to talk about what we love about Arena, because I think that some of the things that has been missing, maybe as we've lost some streamers and lost a little bit of momentum, is that like we forget why we like it. So maybe it'd be cool to, like, you know, talk about what we like about it and not so much focus on strategy. So everybody knows that my favorite thing is golden cards, like hands down. I want to have every golden card. I want to have the golden coin. I just love the animations. I love when I make, you know, when I play like a card that creates more cards and they're golden too, and I could just make golden cards forever. And then I get really mad when my opponent gives me cards and then it's not golden, and then I get really upset. But
like with a banana guy?
Yeah.
I also have a good thing about golden cards. Today I was playing, okay, so sorry, because you reminded me, I was playing duels today on stream. I just every once in a while. And I played a barricade, which was golden, and I had your spells trigger twice. So naturally, you play the barricade once, it summons 2, but then the second time there's already minions on the board, so it just plays 1, so you get three taunts, right? The first 2 are golden, casts again, and the third one is not golden, and it was infuriating. So I kind of like, I don't love golden cards as much as Kel, of course, here, but I can kind of understand when your opponent just throws your non-golden into the loop. That must just be horrible for you, especially.
I mean, they're not allowed to corrupt my deck. Like, I worked hard and played lots of Arena to get all my cards golden. So that's, But I just love the animations. I think it's always fun to literally you take this like crappy neutral card, and somebody today was laughing because I had Pantry Spider golden. And they're like, wait, I've never seen that card golden. Why do you have that card golden? And I'm like, the only way that you can get the Pantry Spider golden is if you craft it with your dust and you waste 400 dust. And it's so funny because I'll see like chat that'll be like, they'll be like, dude, you're wasting your dust. Like, and I'm like, dude, I got 60K, man. I'm fine. So that was my first thing. What'd you say?
Do you have golden card? Do you have every single golden card? Or
no, I don't have like every golden card, but I have kind of like a strategy. What?
You're pretty close.
Well, I mean, I pretty much have one of it because in Arena, if you have one golden card of everything, at least one of them, you can almost usually get a lot of golden decks that way. But yes, I'll definitely get to the point where there's 29 golden cards and there's this one really shitty card that I don't want to spend a legendary on, but it's gonna make me not have a golden deck, and then you'll see me like just go and like spend the 3,200 dust and just blow it on like it happens. It just happens.
So you would actually like draft around a golden card. Like if there's like a horrible card that's golden, but there's like good cards, you would pick the horrible card.
Maybe this is why my average is struggling because I just can't.
No. I am impressed. This is
it's
great.
Full commitment. It has to be golden. It has to look good for chat. I mean, I like my stream to look good.
Streaming's a whole visual experience. You can't just be offering chat just boring gray cards that don't even move.
Yeah, I know,
For
right?
sure. Yeah.
All right. So my second thing that I love I love the wonky cards, and I love the cards that everyone doesn't want to take, and everybody's afraid to take. So Ungaro just came back to Arena. So let me just tell you, when Ungaro came out, I took Bittertide Hydra every time I saw it. And people were like, dude, there's Volcano. But my thing is like, if Bittertide Hydra is going to win me 7 games and lose me 1, but I still get 12 wins, then I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? And honestly, I've only been Volcanoed with Hydra 1 time. And I will admit right now there's a lot more punishes, but I just love the cards that people don't want to draft because they don't realize that Arena doesn't matter. Keening Banshee, Fell Reaver, all those type of cards are my favorite. I just love cards that are not. I like finding the value because in Arena, like those cards are amazing. Like, it's kind of like Shady Bunny used to say, like, you play Keening Banshee and just imagine those 3 cards you lose are on the bottom of your deck. It doesn't really matter, just because you burn your mind control doesn't mean you're going to lose the game. So I just love, I love those type of cards, and I love when people tell me I'm wrong and I win anyway. So that's those are all my things I love.
I think they have Fell Reaver causes a lot of misplays for your opponent because they just try to spam out cards to discard, and it's not the best play that they're doing.
Yeah,
I've had opponents ice lance me many times with a Fell Reaver, or just frostbolt it and then just play around it, and that does not work. Not work.
Better yet is when they just leave it alive to hit them in the face 3 times in a row, and it's like keeping it alive is not going to work out for you here.
Never.
Happens all the time.
Makes everyone panic.
Yeah. It's like these big static cards that are just like weird. Kellen used to. What's that card? The one that makes all your everything cheaper. You love that card.
The Reborn. Oh, I don't remember the name of that card.
Generous Mummy.
3 mana 5/4. That card. That Kellen got me on that card. I actually will admit that even though I like those type of cards, I wasn't on that train for a little while.
I think it depends on the class. I know Miss Elbow was also a big fan of that card.
I liked it in Rogue a lot.
I was going to say, I could see it in Rogue and Hunter.
Rasmus looking it up.
Yeah.
I hear the tapping.
Yeah.
I didn't play when this was out.
I know, it's cool.
Yeah, that one was a bit of a harder train to ride, I guess. But I did still.
I would say it's not as good as Fell Reaver.
Yeah, probably not.
No, but it's same idea, right? People, even if it's not as good, people definitely misplay to Generous Mummy as well.
Yeah, I think that's one of those cards where because it was generated by a couple cards in the format, you were able to experience it and play with it even when you didn't draft it. So when you were forced to do that, you were able to develop an opinion on the card a little more.
Yeah, Pharaoh Cat and Rogue was a big one that kind of gave you experience with Generous Mummy.
Right, exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's true. All right, Judge. So what are the things that you love about Arena so much? Why don't you tell us some of the things you like?
So I'm a guy who likes every mode in Hearthstone. I talk about this all the time. People have their favorites, this and this, and I play all modes sometimes off stream. And Arena's my favorite, and the reason is because no 2 decks you ever play or play against are the same. You can play hundreds, thousands of runs, and you will never run into an identical deck.
Oh yeah,
and I just love the variety. I think that also, like, that variety in drafting is really nice. You can't just, look up the best deck on HS Replay and plug it in. You actually have to consider, they do have rating systems now, but at best, I'd say the best rating system is like 70% correct at the moment.
Yeah.
You got to really make a lot more decisions because every single draft is going to offer you a different type of deck. It's going to take you in a direction. Maybe it takes you control. Maybe it takes you aggro. You have to be way more adaptive. I just love that every single run, every single experience is a different one.
So, Judge,
It's
on
a good
that
one.
on that front, is part of the I think one of the things they've done recently that's allowed for that to even be better than it has in the past is that they've made the power level more similar between commons and uncommons and rare, or commons and rares and epics and not legendaries, but it seems like the power level of pretty much every card they print is closer to the same. Like your Rustthorn Initiate is an example I think of a lot. It's a 2 mana 3/3, but it's split up weird and it does all these things. But that card is a 2 mana 3/3. That's pretty equivalent to any of the powerful cards that we had back in before, I don't know, in an older era. Do you think that's part of it, that this power level is more similar between good and bad and what would normally be bad cards?
To an extent, sure. Maybe that makes it like even more so. But like even at the end of the day, like regardless of that difference, whether it's now, whether it's years ago, it still doesn't change just the general, you know, list of your cards cannot be the same, even if you tried, kind of idea. So
Gotcha.
even though you'll get similarities, you'll get meta changes, like, meta to meta, and things will change that way. But even just not being able to ever have the same list, no matter what, is kind of the big one for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Variety in your own decks, but
Mhm.
also your opponents as well, right? You never know what to expect when you're facing someone. I think,
Right, you can see similarities. There are likelihoods of cards appearing, but you're very different game from constructed, where you match into somebody and you immediately know there's no way I can keep this. I toss the quest because I am playing this deck. I know at probably 28 of their 30 cards, maybe even all 30.
Yeah.
And you
right.
start making sense from there, right? Like it's just
So
so
robotic.
different game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like constructed. And I think there is definitely a lot of skill in that metagame as well. But just keeping it fresh, the amount of variety in Arena is awesome.
All right, Kellen, why don't you share some of the things you love about Arena or
So
Hearthstone?
there's definitely one thing I love more than anything else, and it's pressing the Hunter Hero Power button. It is my favorite experience. Which doesn't make sense to me because I never emote. Like I don't ever use threaten. I don't like to trash talk, but I just love hovering over that button on my opponent's turn when they're at 2, and they just and just
That's evil, man.
yeah, the faster I try to click it as fast as I can as soon as it's my
Do
turn.
you ever try to fake people out, and be like, man, this is kill command. I'm gonna make them think that I got a beast on board. Do you ever do that kind of thing? You gotta do like the mind games.
I don't really ascribe to that philosophy of trying to like get my opponent to think I have pyro or something
Oh
like
man, you're
that.
missing
I don't
out.
do
You're so missing out. You're like
Yeah.
you gotta get into the mind of the hunter. You gotta like play mind games.
Oh,
You probably lost a game or two that you could have won by not playing mind games.
Yeah, there were some instant concedes from your opponent that you missed there for sure.
Don't you love that, guys? Like when you like go to like you don't even have lethal or anything, and all of a sudden they just concede, and you're like, oh great.
My thing for that is literally just as soon as if I'm close and I know I don't quite have it, and my turn starts, I just start going face with everything immediately. Like it's just like boom, well played, face, they concede, and I'm like, I did not have the extra 3 or 4 damage from hand. Done that a couple times. Doesn't happen often.
I am definitely missing some percentage points. Then I should probably up my game on the.
I honestly feel like people don't concede as easily as they used to when you do that. You used to be able to play those like years ago. People would be conceding left and right. They just sit there and live until the next turn nowadays.
I feel like everyone who plays Arena now is just too serious about it.
That's true.
That's the only ones left.
I don't think I've ever conceded a game where my opponent didn't have lethal. Like I've never just like rage conceded or just been like, oh, I lost.
There are also way more comeback mechanics now where you can actually swing. You can swing boards way, like in a way bigger way now than you could before
I
too.
love
Right?
that part of Arena. It's my favorite part.
There is a second part to the Hunter Hero Power that I love, and that is the when you have to weave it into your turns so that you can apply enough pressure to get through to the end game. And I think it is one of the most skill testing things in Arena.
Absolutely. Knowing when to start pressing that button every turn for sure.
That's not that hard. You just start immediately on turn 2.
Turn 2. There's turn 4, turn 1.
Turn 3, and then turn 4. It's like hero power 2 drop. I mean, you just keep going and you win.
Man, maybe I've been thinking about the game all wrong all these years. There's one other thing I love besides the Hunter hero power, and that's theme decks or combo decks. Basically, I really like any type of deck that uses some type of combination of cards to create an unfair advantage. And not cards that are always good, but cards that do work together. In Constructed, that could be the Rogue Caverns quest or something like that, where you just are doing crazy stuff with low resources. And in Arena, it doesn't happen often, but often you can get something like Replicatatron, maybe. Or any other card. Judge, have you had any experience with that card before?
Replicatatron, never heard of it. What does it do? I love that card. Most underrated card in the Arena. You guys have heard me go off about it before. Judge, great segue. He knows I'll go on about Replicatatron. Oh, man.
Fantastic card. So skilled.
Yes, it has its best classes of Paladin and Shaman, but it's good. I rarely turn it down in any class. I actually I was telling before you hopped on the call, before we started Ratsmah, I had a deck was it yesterday or 2 days ago off stream, where I had a Replicatatron Druid with Greybow and Spirit Singer Umbra. And multiple games I had Replicatatrons that were summoning multiple Greybows per turn. It was beautiful. I mean, that's obviously a crazy high roll, but you just turn a 1/1 into a 3/3 and it's already fine and presents a threat.
But
it's really
now there's freaking Magnetic, and it's so amazing. I just remember recently, so I did a co-op with Veritas, and he taught me about the card more, and I feel like I really get it now. And the best part was, a day later, I'm playing with that card, and I don't even remember what class it was, but I got a Ziliax off of something, and I did it, and I'm like, the first thing I said is like, Veritas and Judge would be so proud of me. Like I was like they'd be so proud. Like I didn't even know Veritas was there, but it was just funny. So
that's great. Yeah, I've hit a few Magnetics, a Noyo module, War Gear. I've hit a few of those. But even like I think I've had 2 Druids with it, and you don't need to hit the absolute nuts with it for it to be great. Adorable Infestation in Druid on a Replicat is just excellent.
Any buff is insane.
Yeah.
Is there any way to like control the order of which bot activates?
I'm actually going to have a YouTube video on exactly that, probably in the next 1 week or 2 weeks.
Oh man, nice.
And yes, you definitely. So it goes in order of when it's summoned. So same as like I've used this example on the Lightforge. I've used this example talking to chat and stuff. It's like if you're Shaman and you have a Baron Geddon and you hit the button and get a healing totem, your Baron Geddon goes off, killing your healing totem, and then your healing totem goes off and heals itself and lives because it was summoned second. But if you hit the healing totem first and then play the Baron Geddon, first the healing totem will go and do nothing, and then the Baron Geddon will kill it and it will die. So it's order of operations. And it gets complicated when you start summoning so many Replicatatrons, but if you keep special track, you can know exactly which one's going to go off first and position accordingly and make it.
It gets confusing when they're like right next to each other and they start transforming each other.
Exactly. Yep. But so like I always try to keep mine on the far right, and then it will like transform one to the left of it. So the one on the far right will still go first because it was summoned first, and you can just only keep 2 of them if play a big thing on the left maybe, and you guaranteed just buff or just change the middle one again.
And then then you're saying if you ever want to actually make it so it could be either side, then you put one to the right of that one eventually. The original.
Yeah, it depends on a few things, but yep. Great card.
Well, Kellen, that was an amazing, like, skillful segue in a podcast, I had to say. That was great. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? I'm going to try to bring it back to you.
I got to go. Judge Replicatatron? Okay.
No, that covers the whole thing. So I'm ready. I don't know. Ratsmah's been around for a long time, so he's probably seen some things we haven't.
Yeah, I've seen some bad things.
Yeah.
Some good things, too. I would say the absolute best thing, my favorite thing about Hearthstone and Arena specifically would be after you're done drafting a deck, you look at your deck list, and there's a card or two that have like a number 5, 6, 7 on the very right, meaning you have like 5 or 6 or 7 copies of them.
Oh,
There's nothing better because you can't recreate that. Like no one can force that to happen.
Such a good point. Yeah, I can't like we didn't even.
that's
think
a
of that.
great.
Point.
That's a great one. Yeah.
It's the only mode you can do that in. That's
It's like when
great.
I had 7 Glotrons in my Paladin deck. It was the easiest 12-0 of my life. Oh my god, that was so much fun too. But yeah, that's
a while before I started streaming, I had 6 copies of the Priest 2-mana 1/2 discover a Death Rattle card. What's that one called? But I had 6 of those. I had Death Rattles for days. It was excellent.
Yeah.
I had a deck with 2 Gadgetzan Auctioneers and had like 3 Frost Novas, a couple Blizzards, and then it had 8 Ice Lances when they're one cost.
What?
It had 8 Frost Lances.
Oh,
And it had like 5 minions total. I only picked spells because I was just all in on it.
okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Wait.
Auctioneers
I gotta
with
like my
8
brain
Ice
needs to process here. Holy shit.
Yeah.
So there was
you
a
guys are
format. There was a
Yeah.
format when they were first experimenting with buckets where Warrior was offered Gadgets and Auctioneer a huge amount of the time, and was often offered Blood to Ichor and Whirlwind and all these other 1-mana Warrior spells right at the same time in buckets that were not good. But you wouldn't take them. I mean, they were kind of comparable to the other cards, but it was bucket time, so you didn't know what was better. But you could take the Gadgets and Auctioneers, and I had multiple decks with 3 Gadgets and Auctioneers and like 10 1-mana spells, because just like you're talking about, there was just these little quarter cases where you could kind of figure out the system a little bit. It is a great time when you can do that.
Yeah. I know they didn't remove Gadgetzan, but they made the offering rate for them much lower. It's kind of sad. I miss seeing these like kind of bad, but you can draft around them kind of cards like Gadgetzan or.
Oh yeah, with 8 Ice Lances, I'd definitely be looking for Gadgets.
I think I picked up a good amount of spells, and then I got like the 2 Gadgetsans back to back, and after that I was like, okay, we're picking.
We're doing it.
Okay, I only have 2 questions for Ratsmah. 1, does a video of this exist somewhere? And 2, how many wins did it go?
So it definitely does. I know if it's not in my Twitch VOD somewhere, I know there's a way that you can go back and get the videos. So I mean, I've been looking for this one as well, because that deck I believe went 12-0. It was the most face rolly deck where
oh my god, I have to see this.
I just started pinging their face. Like turn 2, I ping their face. Turn 3, I ping their face. Turn 4, I ping their face, and then turn 5, I started Frost Nova pinging their face. And now just save up cards. And every single turn after turn 5, their entire board was frozen with either Frost Nova or Blizzard. And it was probably the most frustrating thing for my opponents to play against.
Yeah, I can imagine. It must have been actual freeze mage in Arena.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll try to find it, and I'll link it to you guys.
If you link it, I'll make sure we put it in the show notes, so you guys, if you're listening, maybe you guys can actually find it as well if he ends up finding it. So okay, so is there anything else, Ratsmah, you have that you wanted to bring up, or is that it?
Yeah, I would say that's the main thing. I just love getting multiples because you just know that you drafted that deck with a purpose, and you're gonna have a hell of a time for the next hour or 2 that you're gonna be playing.
And I love that too, because like it's always been this point where, of course, Arena decks aren't as good as constructed decks, but then you get these odd. Like I'll never forget this one 12-0 I had that I was like guaranteeing. I was like, this has to go 12-0, and it was 4 Rotnest Drakes right when Rotnest Drake came out.
Oh,
and it just cruised. It just steamrolled everyone, and it's like those kinds of decks could potentially be better than constructed, because in constructed you can only get 2 of particular cards. So if they're really game defining cards, you can actually get just like these insanely powerful decks with 4 or 5 copies of these cards that constructed players would love to have 4 or 5 copies of.
Yeah. Oh man, I forgot about Rotnest Drake. It's not even that old. God, that card is good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not horrible. I kind of consider that the original, like in the new Hearthstone era, kind of one of the original power creep cards. Right, Rotnest came right before a whole that was right was that with Twin Tyrant? I think that was right before Twin Tyrant, right? It was Twin Tyrant came just after Rot Nest, I think.
I think you're right. It is the same
Yeah.
era though. It's definitely that same.
Yeah,
It's definitely that same year.
Because I think Rot Nest came and it was like, holy, what the heck is that? And then like dozens of other cards came out shortly after that made you kind of think that.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, speaking of double cards, I was thinking how like on top of just getting like 7 or 8 of like one card, what's also fun is getting like a double or triple of a certain legendary, and like how you could get like double Kazakus, and because you had 2 of them, you knew that once you drew the one Kazakus, it was automatically active, and it was like the most broken thing ever.
Yeah, I played against a few double Zephyrus decks in my time.
Oh,
it's great.
Double with the singleton cards, when you end up getting doubles, it's just so gross. It's so gross.
Yeah, who was it? Team America, I think, who had like a double Zephyrus Reno. Someone, I don't know, I don't remember who, but 2 Zephyruses in Reno and Mage. And it's like that's not fair. That's not fair at all. Like I said, sometimes just better than constructed in certain cases, right? Because I bet you a Highlander mage would love to have a double of one of those Highlander cards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, like the whole like multiple card thing is so much easier if we're back in Classic. I think this happened a lot more in Classic Arena with less cards to.
Yeah, true. That's
what
true.
I've heard.
That's a good point.
I've heard people say they've had like 7 Flame Strikes, 7 Hellfires, stuff like that, and you don't really see that anymore. I've seen a few people with 5 copies of stuff. I haven't. I think the most I've had is 4 of anything like ever on stream. But pretty hilarious decks. Yeah, I'm taking every duplicate.
Yeah, so I try to like force it, like soft force it. So I'll pick like all the studies cards, and then once I get like 2, that's the point where it's like, okay, I don't even care what it's up against. I'm gonna pick every single one.
I've got to look. Maybe I do have to try harder, but I'm pretty sure like I don't have it in me to turn. Rarely do I have it in me to turn down a studies card. I'll have to really self-reflect here and see what I can do.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that pretty much covers all the stuff we love about Arena. Hopefully, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. One thing that I wanted to do this week that I put on Reddit was we actually kind of had a mini contest. It's going to be great because I wanted the top 3 comments and 3 people responded, so they're going to get read. So hey,
Easy.
So anyway, we're going to read the comments from these three viewers, and then we'll just kind of talk about what they said. Some of them are about the core set, some of them are about things they love. So Zeprito said, with a new core set approaching with the next expansion, how do you feel this will impact consistency in drafts and runs? For example, to give you an idea of what I mean, let's take Mage. Suddenly there's no Frostbolt, Firebolt, Pyroblast, and also key removals of, let's say, Polymorph. Then they rotate in like Arcane Blast, Shooting Star, Flame Geyser, Firelance Portal. He said, obviously this is speculation until they release the list. How much of a shift in the hero archetype power levels do you think we can expect? And how do you think that'll impact going infinite or just breaking even? So he's basically asking, how we think that, the core set will impact like power levels and like the shifting and balance of like the classes. Does anyone have any comments?
Well, I think it'll definitely depend on what is shifted in. I think we can't know that answer until we see what the list of cards will be, and actually probably until we've played in the arena and seen some data.
Yeah. I definitely think. Oh, go ahead, Judge.
I was just gonna say, like, we touched a little bit on like the changing archetypes already in the podcast. Like we were talking about changing archetypes, and I think like as far as consistency goes individually, you'll just have to learn to adapt to what that new class is going to be offering, right? Like you kind of have a game plan with most of the or if you've played enough Arena, you have a game plan going in to the draft. You got to be flexible, but if you're a mage or a shaman and you see those. You're like, yeah, you got hard removal, you got polys, you got hexes. And that's just not going to necessarily be true anymore. So it's just going to be like probably a bit of an adaptive period, but I imagine you'll see the same overall like curve win rate after a period of time is what I would guess.
Yeah. I think this is also going to be good for the idea with Demon Hunter because like right now, like, they're trying to figure out, they needed to figure out a way to give them in a sense, a standard or like a core set of Demon Hunter cards. And on a side note, I hope that they take this opportunity to like balance it out a little bit. They have a chance here to like, they can basically like, for instance, Demon Hunter was kind of a mess when it came out, and it still to some degree is. And like, they have an opportunity with the core set to actually just completely fix it. They can just remove cards or add them in. So I hope they're intelligent with that, but we'll see.
I think that's probably going to be a bit of the purpose, is to perhaps
Right.
make the core sets just a little more powerful to compete with the inevitable power creep over time, and with Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll just have to see for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be cool to be back in the stage where you're trying to draft like core cards, right? Back in the day, it was just class cards. Class cards are good, neutral cards are bad. But I would like to go back and be like, okay, now classes have like identifying cards that make their class really good.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, they have like X neutral card that is really good in this meta, you know?
Maybe they can
Yeah.
finally do what I've always wanted and like make Rogue actually do what Priest does now and actually steal cards and then do the, they can actually like flip them like they're supposed to, but they probably won't. But
Give me Burgle in the core
I
set.
know,
Let's
like what the
go.
hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's really cool about the core set that I didn't bring up when we talked about it originally is I think it will actually give them, in terms of a game design perspective, they can actually like they'll have more space. There might actually not be as much power creep is what I was going to try to say, because now like every year they can basically set the core set and then they design off of that. And like instead of having to compete with classic cards all the time and make sure they're better than that, they can set it up themselves. So it really does solve a lot of potential problems and gives them a lot more control. If they have a bad year, they can just switch out sets and they can kind of keep going. So I think overall, I think it will help them in a lot of ways in the future. So
it allows them to be more flexible, right?
Right.
Like they can really do whatever they want with the core set. And if there's a problem, instead of being like, oh, we really can't do this, or like we're removing these and these cards, it can be like, yeah, okay, well, we'll just move the core set onto this, and we've hopefully learned from that problem. And they can be flexible year to year, where classic just was kind of stuck in the same place, and all the ways the same issues existed.
Yeah. All right, so let me move on to the next. There's the second comment. This one's more about like things that they love. It says, nice topic from Freezerd. What I love about Arena is the freedom when building decks. I always decide what kind of deck I want to build before the draft, and then I go all in on it. I like trying to build synergy decks like Secrets or Dragon Discovery, and pretty much always go Face Warrior with Shield of Hunters, Corcoran Elites, etc. Sometimes you fail, but sometimes you'll get a deck that's better than if you had just picked the best card every time. Also, everyone has their favorite cards and all that stuff. So that's what I love most about Arena. I think Judge kind of talked about this a bit with like the variety. And it is true. You can kind of build your own style, whereas in Constructed, it's a little bit, maybe there's not as much flexibility to like play the way you want to. You know what I mean?
Well, Kel, in the last meta, we both thought Rogue was one of the top classes, and we drafted it with a completely different mindset, and we still both had good results with it. So
I feel like everybody drafts Rogue differently than me, but I still always have an A+ average with it. I don't know. All right, and so the last comment, I think this one's good. We'll throw this one around to everyone. This is from Tarrant. He said, from an Arena perspective, this is about the core set as well. If you could choose, say, 2 cards from each major set and 1 from an adventure set to rotate into the core sets, which cards would you choose and why? And maybe just to make it simpler, like, what cards would you like to maybe see rotated back? And it could be from Classic, it could be from one from, Wild or Hall of Fame or just a previous set. Anybody have any thoughts of cards they really are pining to be into the core set here?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one right on the spot.
Yeah.
I'm putting you on the spot. That's a little challenging.
So one of my favorite cards from a while ago. Now, I don't know how, it depends on what like the next expansion will look like, but I always really loved Cabal Courier and Cabal Chemist a whole lot. They might make a decent addition to like a core set, because there are, they're solid enough, but now like they're just a little understated compared to what they'd be printed at in like the last expansion, right? You're seeing like 3 mana 3/4s discovering cards now. And I think those are, it might not be as good as I think, just because there are so many, discoveries now. When Cabal Chemist and Courier came out, there weren't. They were kind of like the fun cards.
Yeah.
But those are ones I really, really like, and I think wouldn't be a problem, because there are just other better cards each like expansion, right? So as a core set for the year or whatever, it could make a lot of sense. Those are fun ones.
Well,
yeah.
You have any, Kellen?
I do. I actually, Judge kind of got me thinking. Dual class and tri-class cards would be really interesting to put in a core set. Both of those cards you mentioned are. Oh wait, actually, is Cabal Chemist just straight neutral? Yeah, it is. But
Yeah.
yeah, but in any
I think.
case, like
Right.
these cards are easy to bring back. And one of the things that would be really interesting, specifically about Discover cards from older sets, is they would be discovering completely new things. Which in the past, when you played Cabal Courier, I think is a great example. You were hoping to find a Dragonfire potion pretty much every time, right? Or something along those lines. One of the powerful cards from the most recent set. But if the power level is going to be just continuing to grow, that Cabal Courier could discover a Soul Mirror now, or something
Yeah,
crazy.
that's true.
So
That's true.
yeah, like that could be really fun. I'd like that. I would like to see a something in the class that brings back a concept that we haven't seen in a while, something like Jade or a mechanic that we haven't seen. So I think that
Yeah.
I'm just all about mean streets right now. But uh, I would love to see some type of return to a mechanic that we haven't played in a while. Probably not Joust though.
Yeah.
Or Inspire.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
Inspire.
not
It-
Joust.
Don't
it-
not
pretty cool,
Demon
though,
Hunter's
that
not allowed
like-
to have Inspired. No more Mookless champions. One
Yeah.
mana get +1/+1. No, we can't have that.
Yeah, Inspire with Demon Hunter. There's no
Oh
way
my
you can get
God.
Inspire in there, dude. There's no way.
Oh,
Demon
God.
Hunter Inspire, get me out of here. But it is pretty cool, like with the core set, that they can kind of choose to. All right, we're going to incorporate this kind of flavor from the past, or from this expansion, from this expansion. So that's pretty cool.
There was someone that actually I saw this. I don't know if I saw this on one of like Ixar's Twitters or whatever, but someone asked if they would potentially expand like mechanics that maybe were part of other sets, and I think they kind of said they're not really looking to. They're trying to stay away from the crazy mechanics that are like maybe Echo, those kind of things in the core set. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
Said that about Discover, but here we are. So
Oh God, yeah. And Rush. Now Rush it's Discover and Rush forever,
You guys didn't like League of Explorers?
Oh, League of Explorers was my favorite adventure set.
Yeah, I would love for Reno to always be in.
Reno? Oh, I
It's
love
so
it.
fun.
I like being rich. You know
What
that?
about original Sir Finley core set?
Sir
oh
Finley?
yeah. Oh yeah.
1 mana 1/3. Get
Yeah.
yourself a nice. You don't need to have it upgraded. Nothing crazy, but
Yeah.
just new hero power. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Or like
I-
Death Knight heroes.
but- Although you could get Demon Hunter hero power from that.
Wait, did you say Death Knights?
Yeah.
Mm,
They tried
would
that.
like-
It didn't.
Did they ever have it in Arena where you could draft them? I don't think
yeah.
they did.
Oh yeah.
When you could draft Death Knights, they really
They did, and then
it was-
eventually Arena was about to just be destroyed, and they banned.
Yeah.
They banned.
It
them.
would just be like you got a.
But you
Death
can
Knight,
still
just
discover them,
destroyed
unfortunately.
everybody.
I have a clip of me holding 3 Goldans with my hero already as Goldan. So
There
Oh
also
my
was
God.
the dual class that year. You could draft the Death Knights from both classes. So I had a deck with
Oh
Death
my
Stalker,
God,
Star,
dude.
and Malfurion the Pestilent.
Oh,
Both,
That's beautiful.
which is pretty gross.
Yeah. I think for me, the card, and this is just just something I love. I love the flip cards. Bring me Kooky Chemist back. Bring it into the core set. Should always be there every year. Kooky Chemist is like
That's a
is
good one for the
PogChamp.
course, that Kooky Chemist.
I just
that was always
love-
a little bit underrated, I think. A great card.
Yeah. And the other thing I think would be really cool, but I don't think they'll be this complex, is like Kellen kind of mentioned this, but it'd be cool if they took. So there's like kind of like these sets of cards for certain mechanics, like the Lich King cards, or like I would think it'd be cool if they could bring in cards that still use like those pools of cards, but different, like new cards. I think that'd
that's
be cool.
a good idea. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Or they-
I should be a designer, but like I have to unfortunately guys, be a nurse right now. But like I could have been a designer. So yeah. But no, I think that'd be cool. It'd be cool to just like there's so many of them. There's so many things where it's like, there's a couple cards that work together. Like I'll be honest, I don't want them to bring lackeys back, but lackeys is an example. So like here's another card that like somehow does something with lackeys, or the Lich King card. So I think that would be a cool thing to explore in the future, a way to do nostalgia, but like not use the same cards, but just kind
like
of
a
change them.
3 mana Arcane Intellect that drew you a Sarah cards or something like that.
Yeah. All right. I have one last question. I think based on this, what would be a card that you guys would like to see that got nerfed or brought back? That like, how would you bring it back? Like for instance, like Ragnaros or Sylvanas. Like, think of how you would bring it back and change. Does anyone have any thoughts? Anyone thought about that at all? I'm just curious.
Grand Grand Archivist, but with a much better stat line, and it targets your opponent's board if possible.
Oh, okay. That's a good one.
Sounds like you've thought about that one. I'm sitting here like, why just Grand Archivist? That's
I mean, I just love cards like this. Like just like a little bit, maybe a lot random, not a little random. A lot random, but also they can be high impact. They can completely win you lost games. Like I like these cards that can actually like carry you out of a bad position, right?
Yeah.
This Tortolan Primalist, things like that are so much fun.
That would be really cool. I think that's a great card to fix and bring back.
Yeah.
Is there a way they could? So we just already talked about Death Knights, but maybe they can decrease the power level of them somehow. But I don't know if that's even fun at that point.
It's an interesting. I've talked a few times about like the potential of, with all the crazy cards coming out, like not even bringing back cards, but just making arena versions of cards, like Twin Tyrant being an 8-mana, 4/7 with the same effect instead of a 4/10 or something like that. Troublemaker.
So confusing, so quick though.
That's the thing, I know, and it probably doesn't work because then like people who don't play every single day are like coming into Arena like what what's going on. But it'd be an interesting idea, Then you could have like cards that are so just busted and win the game by themselves, like like Troublemaker, like
Right.
Ganarg could be a 2/2 weapon and still be completely broken, stuff like that,
Yeah. And maybe they could do that for cards that don't get played in Wild or something. They could just change those cards and bring them back.
Or like I don't know.
Think that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say like give some sort of like alert when the cards are in like in the draft in Arena for new players, like
that's so funny, actually giving information to Arena players. Oh man, you're a great judge.
I could be a designer.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard. KW. Oh my god.
It probably wouldn't work. I don't know if it'd work, but
you just made everybody laugh that's listening. I love that.
Do you guys think that Death Knights would be overpowered even in the current state of Arena?
Okay.
I think a couple of them would be. I think Jaina and Rexar would be. It's because of the way that games get to end games right now.
I think they are generally overpowered because the meta is about getting into the late game value, and that's kind of what they almost all of them do, or at least most of them.
Yeah, I think still most of them would be pretty busted.
The Warrior one probably is fine.
Yeah,
Since they just straight up printed that weapon anyways, so why not?
And it's it's like half the cost.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it'd still probably be a good card, cleave weapon. For 8, it's fine.
It's good for 7 in OD.
It's great for 7. Yeah, it's probably good for 8.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. I think we're gonna end it here. But this was really fun. Through our first Arena Roundtable. I think we'll definitely have to do this again at some point. When we have some good topics to bring up. So that's going to do it for episode 3 of the Kelcast. You can join us live here on Twitch, 8 p.m. Eastern every week, or you can download the podcast wherever you get your podcast every single Monday. There also will be an upload to YouTube, my YouTube, Keladars, about every Sunday as well. So you can watch the video feed on YouTube if you want. You can also find me on my Twitch stream every day at 7 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Saturday. Or on Twitter, and like I said, search KELUDAR. And then also make sure that you follow Judge and Ratsmah and all their social medias. I'm sure they're fairly similar on Twitter, YouTube, and all those things. So make sure you guys subscribe and get their content as well. Make sure to tune in next week where we'll cover the bottom 5 classes in Arena and how to make them work. All right. And so also I want to say thank you to John Laux for the music used in the episode. You can find links to all of our contributors in the show notes. This has been the Kelcast. See you next week.